And I'm going to pass over to Harriet to bring us Growing Fairer Futures. Thank you, Harriet.
Hey, thanks, Sally. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time on what I'm sure is a lovely sunny day for you all to join this session, all about Shared Interest Foundation, with, as Sally said, a focus on our Growing Fairer Futures project in Rwanda. I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by our project coordinator, Justin Tuyisenge, who is joining us from Rwanda. So we will keep our fingers crossed for good internet connection, and we will hear from Justin shortly. So I know that we have a range of different types of volunteers with us this afternoon, but chances are if you are a translator volunteer or an ambassador, you will have supported us in some way with our work, so thank you for that. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I will give you a little bit of an update on the current work of the foundation before we hear from Justin, and then at the end, there will be the opportunity to answer any questions you might have. So I'm sure you are all aware that the foundation is the charitable arm of the society. So this graphic just shows a little bit about our impact in 2020. We delivered 7 projects, working in partnership with 28 cooperatives, and delivered a variety of different training sessions to 315 farmers and artisans. That training included good agricultural practices, leadership training, agribusiness, and finance skills. And whilst we try to align ourselves with all of the Sustainable Development Goals, the 4 that we think most closely align with our work are number 1, no poverty, number 5, gender equality, number 8, decent work and economic growth, and number 13, climate action. And you will see all of these 4 SDGs represented in the following projects that I will now share with you. So the past 6 months have been very busy at the foundation. We currently are delivering 8 projects, which is the most that we've ever delivered at any one time. And we have active projects in all 4 regions where the society has a presence, which is fantastic. Again, that is for the first time. So this will be a bit of a whistle-stop tour through all of our projects, just to give you a bit of a taster about some of the activities that we are working on. So beginning in East Africa, our first project is the Growing Fairer Futures project in Rwanda. And this is working with 50 young men and women to help them to establish their own coffee farm. So we will explore this in a little bit more detail shortly with Justin. The second project is working in Western Uganda. We are working in partnership with organic coffee cooperative Bukonzo to help 365 of their members to increase their income to better meet their household needs. And we are doing this through supporting them to improve their coffee yield and also to diversify into passion fruit production. So you can see the photo on the right, that is one of the farmers sorting out the yellow passion fruits, from which they will extract the seeds to then plant in the nurseries before they are distributed to the farmers for intercropping on their coffee farms. This cooperative, Bukonzo, is located in Western Uganda, near the Rwenzori mountain range. So you can see from that image that the coffee farms are built into terraces on the hillside. But when it rains, the rain washes down the mountain and washes all the sort of fertile soil down, which is one of the reasons why the farmers are struggling to earn a sustainable income from their coffee. So one activity that we are delivering through this project is planting of shade trees, which you can see on the left-hand side. So these trees will have the dual purpose of strengthening the soil and to reduce erosion, and also providing important shade to the coffee bushes. Now moving over to West Africa, in Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire, we are delivering a project in partnership with cocoa cooperative Kayat. So this project is working with 50 young men and women, again, to help them to establish their own cocoa farm. They have been provided with a range of tools and training in how to use these tools, and also training covering good agricultural practices and climate smart agriculture. In total, we have planted 37,500 highly climate resistant and disease resistant cocoa seedlings. So these are currently growing in nursery beds, and then they will be distributed amongst the 50 young farmers for planting in September, just in time for the rains. So staying in West Africa, in Northern Ghana, we are working with local NGO, Trade Aid Integrated, to support 120 of their female basket weavers to increase their income. So basket weaving in this particular region has seen, the basket weavers have seen a significant decline in their income over the past couple of years, down to an average of £188 per year. And this is for a couple of reasons. One, there is a global reduction in demand for handwoven items. And secondly, the impact of COVID on this rural community, which relied on local tourism as a market to sell their baskets. So because of all the restrictions as a result of COVID-19, their market access has significantly reduced. Another challenge that is facing this group in this northern part of Ghana is that the land is very arid and very infertile, which means it's not suitable for growing some of the cash crops like cocoa. So we are working with this group to help them diversify into soilless farming, which is a really exciting new technology which uses boxes as the farm, and in the place of soil, they will use substrates that are available to them locally. So this includes sawdust, rice husks, poultry manure, and into these boxes, they will grow the vegetables. These vegetables will then be sorted in a warehouse, which we are currently working with Trade Aid to renovate, before being sold locally and also to local institutions like hotels and schools. So this photo on the right shows one of the motorbikes and trailers that was purchased as part of this project to transport the vegetables from the box farms to the warehouse before they are sorted and then sold. So staying again in West Africa, we are moving to Burkina Faso. So we've been working in the community of Dakoro since 2018. You might be familiar with our Bees for Business projects. So originally we worked with this group of women to help them establish their beekeeping business. And then over the past year, we have been working with them again to diversify further into organic sesame production. So they originally planted 1 hectare of sesame crop. They had their first harvest earlier in the year, and then they were able to reinvest their profit to expand their sesame farm by an additional hectare. And staying again in Burkina Faso, we are working in the neighbouring community of Sidiradougou. So this is working with another 75 women to help them establish a beekeeping business. They had their first honey harvest last week, so we look forward to hearing from them how that went. Moving over to Central America, we are working in Nicaragua with Sesame Cooperative Caproxnic. And this is working with 40 women who all had access to land, but didn't have the means or the skills to be able to earn an income from it. So we are working with them to help them establish their own organic sesame farm. And we are also providing training and tools so that they can use the byproducts of the sesame to produce sesame candy, which they will sell locally as an additional source of income. And then our final project, we are working in South America, in Peru, in partnership with coffee cooperative Secafe. And we are working with Secafe to help them develop an environmentally friendly solution to the coffee borer beetle, which if left untreated can destroy up to 50% of coffee crops. So in their laboratory, they are developing the fungus Beauveria bassiana, which will be then distributed to 200 of their farmers to be applied to their crops. So this then protects the ecosystem and enables the coffee farmers to produce a higher volume of organic coffee, which in turn increases their profit as it sells for a higher value. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour through all of our projects. I hope that's kind of given you a bit of a flavour for some of the activities that we are working on in all parts of the world, which is fantastic. And so now I will invite Justin, if you want to unmute yourself, and we will talk a little bit about our Growing Fairer Futures project in Rwanda. So just to set the scene, Rwanda is located in East Africa. So we are working in partnership with coffee cooperative Copacabana, who are located in the Western region, close to Lake Kivu and close to the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. And through this project, we are working to support 50 young people who live in the coffee growing communities around Copacabana to establish their own coffee farm. And this is a photo of just some of the beneficiaries outside of the training centre. So, Justin, why don't you, I think it'd be really helpful to hear a little bit about some of the challenges facing young people in the communities around where you live. Apart from coffee farming, what are the kind of economic opportunities available to them? And what are the challenges they face if they want to become a coffee farmer?
Yeah, thank you very much for your good presentation. And I think it's a big opportunity to us to be with my colleagues to share what we are doing with the youth in the integration of youth in the coffee farming. So first of all, I'm called Justin Twisenge. I'm a Kopakama staff, especially someone who's in charge of youth project. And in my daily life, I'm the field supervisor and certification office. So I want to tell some challenges that the youth are facing in this community where Kopakama is located. For example, as you know, in Africa, we have many youth who are more than to the old man. It's a characteristic of our continent. So in our area or in our cooperative also, we have the old man who are in coffee producing. So when you consider with the youth, we meet that the youth are the small number in the coffee farming. So some characteristic is like to some challenges like lack of the land. As you know, in Africa, you have shortage of land. Secondly, it's the lack of capital, where the youth they can invest in other business. Lack of skills of how they can be the farmers of the producer of coffee. Secondly, it's the lack of some materials like the equipment, farming tools, and inputs also are a big issue to youth, where they cannot get easily the good seedlings to be planted in order to get the product yearly. Other things is lack of collateral. Some youth do not have the collateral in order they can access the financial services easily. It's also a big issue in our community. So I think the opportunity which are behind in our community, sometime they can produce some vegetable. Some youth are in agricultural activities like vegetables, tomatoes, or the fruits, where some youth are producing the fruits like the maracuja and the pineapple in somewhere. Also, other opportunities, economics that it's some youth are in the small business where they can establish the shops, small shop. I think it's the opportunity to the youth which are living in our community. Other things that I can tell to you, it's the difficulty that the youth they face by starting to be in coffee farming. One, it's lack of good seedlings and trainings about low skills on how they can grow the coffee. Other things is lack of just information on markets. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, we hear you. I think it's interesting where you were talking about some of the jobs available or opportunities to earn an income. So we recently completed our baseline survey with the young farmers. And one of the questions asked was, how do you currently earn an income and what's your kind of average monthly income? And so the average monthly income of these 50 young farmers is only £8 a month. And the majority have 2 or 3 people that are financially dependent of them, whether that be children or siblings or elderly parents. So there's a lot of financial strain on these young people to earn an income. And you can imagine how £8 a month is going to leave you struggling to really meet your basic needs. So we can talk now a little bit about some of the activities delivered through this project. So just to show you on the screen, so this project was launched in March of this year, and it's a 2-year project. So we are still fairly early on, but we've already been able to implement quite a few interesting activities. But we can't talk yet about the impact. Obviously, that will happen much further down the line when the coffee bushes have been planted and they've had their first harvest. But what we can talk about is the sort of immediate benefit of some of the activities already delivered. So the pictures on the top left is the youth attending their good agricultural practices training. So this was 1 day of kind of theory training, and then day 2, which is the base picture, the youth were taken out to the field and to have some practical demonstrations. And then the third picture on the right is Justin himself modeling some of the tools that we sent to be distributed to the youth. So talking a little bit, Justin, about the good agricultural practices training, could you give some examples of the topics that were covered and how this training will support the young farmers?
Thank you very much. About the good agriculture practice trainings, the youth have just capturing how exactly we start by demonstrating the variety of coffee after giving some information on the variety of coffee. The second one, it was how you can preparing the seedlings, how we prepare the good seedlings. And third, it was how we prepare the land. When you got the good seedlings, the third one is to planting, how we prepare the land for planting the coffee. And after planting coffee, and we see also about trainings, we see also how we can just maintaining the coffee. Maintenance, like pruning, like mulching, like other activities which are related for getting the good yield. Otherwise, you have also get how you can mitigate some disease and pests in our coffee. And also without forget erosion mitigation, because we're living in the high mountains. So we look on also how we can mitigate the erosion, even how you can intercropping some shade trees in order those coffee can grow under shade. I think on the training also, we have visiting some good demonstration plots in order to show the youth how the good coffee can be growing, how the good coffee can be treated, can be maintained. We have one demonstration plot where we are working with World Coffee Research, and we have got some new varieties. So we want those varieties that can be distributed to the youth in order it's produced yearly. In 2 years only you can get the first production. Thank you.
And so what activities do we have next planned for this project?
Also about the project, we have purchasing some demonstration plots, 2 demonstration plots, which we will using for demonstrate those youth. It's like a school, farmer field school, where the youth can learn some good practices, agriculture, and then they turn back at home to make what they have learned in that demonstration plot. Other things that next step is planting the seedlings, where we are preparing now in October. And after October, I think we'll continue by maintaining those small plants, the young plant, in order that we can get the good yield in the next 2 years coming. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we also have, towards the end of this year, the training in climate smart agriculture. And then next year, we are delivering training in agribusiness and finance skills so that the young farmers can manage their business profitably and sustainably. And then just this photo, so this is some of the youth lined up after they've just received some of their tools. So final couple of questions, Justin. What do you think will be the impact of this project on the young farmers? And once the project ends with Shared Interest Foundation, how will Kopakama continue to support the young farmers?
Thank you very much. This project will help the youth to get to generate some incomes, because in Rwanda, some cash crop which can generate too much money in the same time, it's coffee. We grow coffee only as the cash crop. So also in our area, many parents have just growing coffee and they are starting to be old. When we don't engage in youth in the coffee farming, in the next years, we can miss some money because our parents are old. So it will help us also to increase productivity when that youth will planting the new seedlings or new plant. It's other opportunity to us or in a community to get some money from the coffee growing.
And then, so once the project ends with Shared Interest Foundation, so this is a 2-year project that we are supporting, how will Kopakama continue to support the young farmers?
Let me say that the foundation has done a great things to us, because in Rwanda, we have too much number of youth, more than 65 are the youth, and we don't have a job. We have the issue of lacking of job, and where the youth they can get some money, it's in agriculture activities. So Kopakama, I think it is opportunity to Kopakama to maintain or to sustaining those activity of youth in order Kopakama can survive in the long term.
Great, thank you very much, Justin. So just to finish off the presentation this afternoon before we move to questions and any questions you might have, please do stay connected with the work of Shared Interest Foundation. If you are active on social media, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. We also have a quarterly digital newsletter that gets sent out, which you can subscribe on our website. And you can also download the annual review, which is available on the website as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Stop sharing now.
Thank you, Harriet. Thank you, Justin. Fantastic to hear from you both there. Thank you very much. Over to everyone to see if you have any questions. Just a reminder to please unmute your microphone if you want to be heard asking your question. We did earlier this morning, people were raising their hands using that function on Zoom. If they wanted to ask questions, which seemed to work quite well, but I also see some people are just unmuting their microphones, so I'll try and manage that myself as well. So Susan, I see you've unmuted there. We'll come to you first. Thank you.
Yes, I was going to ask, thank you very much, Justin and Harriet. It was really interesting to hear some more detail. Have you any way of actually obtaining any more land for the young people? Is there any plan to do that, or is there any possibility that they will get land that doesn't already belong to their family or the older people?
Justin, are you still there?
Yes, I hear you.
So if we talk about maybe specifically about the project in Rwanda, so access to land, I know that from the baseline, some of the young farmers already had their own land, and some had family land, which was being gifted to them, whether that be from their parents or an elderly family member. But If they wanted to expand their farms further, Justin, is there land available to buy, and how easy is it to do that?
Yeah, the farm is available, so it's not too much. So currently it's very expensive. So we still have some land that can be used that even their parents, they give some parts. So I think even you have money, you can expand your business. There is no problem.
So I think what we're hoping, one of the sort of legacies and impact of this project will be that the young farmers, once they do start to earn an income from the coffee, whether that be in a few years, they will save up enough to be able to then expand their farm and increase their income going forward.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm just going to, oh, you've muted yourself again. Perfect. Thank you. It helps me work out who's coming next in questions. We've got Trevor, you're unmuted. I'm assuming that's to ask a question. Over to you.
Yes, please. Yes. 2 questions, Harriet, if that's okay. So you've been doing 7 projects and you've now expanded that to 8 this year. How has the pandemic affected your plans? And I mean, was the Rwanda project, did it have to be put back because of the pandemic? And generally, how has it affected your work? So that's the first question. And the second question is, are you using restricted or unrestricted funds for your projects? And is the society making any donations at all to the foundation for them?
Yeah,
so those are the 2 questions.
So the first one about the impact of the pandemic, definitely within those first few months of kind of lockdown, there was a lot of uncertainty. We were in the UK in our restrictions. Overseas we're in restrictions, so that there was a lot of uncertainty about what it would look like. I don't think anyone envisaged that it would still be ongoing. So probably from about February time, when things were starting to kind of come in the news a little bit, until about June time, we really kind of paused all delivery. We had a number of new projects that we'd secured funding for, which we were hoping to be launching in about the February-March time of 2020. But just with all the uncertainty, we put a pause on those. But then as things did start to kind of ease up a little bit in some of the countries that we work in, for example, in Burkina Faso, we had a project that we were due to launch in February, but it involved kind of outside trainers coming into a very rural community, and we wouldn't want to kind of put anybody at risk from outside. Even it was all within the country, within the region, but even still, kind of restrictions on travel within regions was limited. So we kind of paused our delivery. We changed the way we delivered some of our projects. So just making sure that all the training was delivered in venues that was big enough for the participants to be able to spread around. Instead of our foundation manager visiting some of the projects as he would normally we recruited local consultants who could visit on our behalf to do kind of monitoring and evaluation. So we tried to reduce, I mean, all travel has completely stopped in terms of kind of foundation staff, but within country, we looked to ensure that travel was kept to a minimum, just to be able to kind of protect the participants as best that we could. So that was the kind of the significant impact. And there was obviously the knock-on impact on the partners that we work with. They faced all kinds of challenges themselves in terms of kind of logistical travel challenges that were affecting access to markets. But in terms of kind of us as a foundation and our project delivery, we definitely faced in those early months a bit of uncertainty, but then we've kind of been able to work with it and being able to kind of bring all our projects up to scratch, and funders were very understanding in terms of kind of delaying some activities and things like that. Second question about how the projects are funded. So I think you asked, was it restricted or unrestricted? And the answer is a little bit of both. So just to help people maybe understand the difference between restricted and unrestricted income. So restricted income generally comes in the form of like a grant, and it is tied to a specific project. There's very clear criteria upon what we can spend that funding on. So it's bound by time, there's a pre-agreed budget, there's kind of set agreed outcomes that we hope to achieve with this grant or with this donation or with this pot of money. So that's why it's called restricted. Unrestricted income is income that we receive maybe just as a donation, or it's not tied to a specific project. So we have a bit more kind of freedom as to what we can use it for to help the charity run as it runs. And the answer is it's a combination of both that are funding our current projects. We have a number of projects which are funded by UK grant makers. So that's fully funded by a specific funder. But then our unrestricted income, which comes, a lot of it comes through from members in terms of donating their interest or donating a proportion of their account if they close it, or if they leave a legacy for the foundation in their will. So over time, that comes to us as unrestricted because it's not bound to a specific project. But as that accrues and builds up, at the end of the financial year, we can look at kind of our pot of unrestricted. And if we have a little bit more than maybe we were budgeting, then we use that to kind of ring fence it and use that to deliver a project. So that's how some of our projects are funded by restricted and some by unrestricted. And was there a third question, or have I answered?
Well, I was just asking if the society gives any.
Oh, yeah. No, so the society, I think, last gave a donation, I think it was 2017, and that was matched by funding from a grant maker, but no, the society hasn't given a donation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor, for those questions. Thank you, Harriet. John, over to you. I see you've got your hand raised there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Harriet and Justin. Very nice double act. And my question is about the income. You mentioned that the average income of these 50 young people was £8 a month before the project started. When the coffee crop is mature, do you have any indication of what you expect their incomes to be from that project?
I think I lost you for a few minutes, Sally. I don't know if the question's been asked.
Oh, sorry, Harriet. John, do you want to just ask your question again, maybe, and maybe Harriet can answer, or pass over to Justin for an answer?
Yeah, basically, I was asking about the income that's expected when the coffee crop is mature, because you gave us an £8 a month average income of the 50 young people before the project. What do you think the income is going to be when it's fully up and running?
Justin, are you available? Would you like to answer? So when the young farmers have planted all their seeds and having their first harvest, what's the average income that they can expect to make from that harvest?
Thank you very much. As the income that those youth will be get after harvesting, in Rwanda, we account 4 kg per trees, means that each youth will have more than 150 trees, coffee trees. And when we multiply by 4 kg per tree, you meet that each youth can produce about 600 kg as the production. And currently, the coffee are both on about between 300 and 350, which can produce about, I think it's not too much money, so it can help you for surviving. In our community, there is no other activity that can generate the money like the coffee. So I don't accounting well, and we have done survey, and maybe we'll show the result after comparing what we have done before and after.
So we can look back through and find out what we're hoping to achieve and let you know, John. I think and clarify with Justin just so we can get a figure to share.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, John. Thanks, Justin and Harriet. Susan, I see you've unmuted again. I assume that's for a question. I'll pass over to you again.
Yeah, it's been so interesting, and thanks for the whistle stop tour at the beginning, Harriet. How much are they able to sell any of their coffee actually into fair trade or not at this time? I know that not everything is fair trade within the projects that are supported, but particularly at this project.
Yeah, Justin, so the certifications of Copacabana, I know you have Organic and Rainforest Alliance. Are you also fair trade certified, and will this coffee be sold as fair trade?
Exactly. Is that the first certification we have just got? After fair trade, we got Rainforest Alliance and the organic now. And those demonstration plot we have just purchasing, and some youth are located where we are producing the fair trade organic coffee.
Great, thank you, Justin.
Do you have any idea what sort of percentage? Because I know some growers find that they actually can only sell a very small amount into fair trade. Do you have any picture at all or not?
So Justin, do you know kind of what proportion will be sold as fair trade?
Sorry, can you explain where?
So of all of the coffee produced by the young farmers, are you able to estimate what proportion or what percentage will be sold as fair trade?
I can calculate when we took the 50 youths, multiply one, when we maximize like the minimum trees, 150, and it's about 7,500 coffee trees. And that trees can produce about 30,000 kg of coffee cherries. And to get the green coffee, we multiply by 7 or 8. It can be 3 tons and 750 of green coffee from that youth when we take average of 150 coffee trees. And there is some youth who have more than 150 trees, even who can produce more than 200, 400 the coffee trees.
And the proportion of that is fair trade, do you think maybe 10%, 20%, 50%? What's your estimation for how much will be fair trade?
It's 20%.
About 20%. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Susan. Thank you, Harriet and Justin, for the answers there. A lot of numbers there, Justin. Thank you for doing that calculation. It was fascinating to hear how, yes, how you can work out from the number of youth and the number of trees and the number of cherries. And it's fascinating. I think when we sit and enjoy our cup of fair trade coffee, we'll really have a better understanding now of what's gone into growing those coffee beans to make that for us. I don't have any more raised hands or any more unmuted microphones, so I'm just going to draw us to a close now. If you do have questions, or anything that Harriet and Justin haven't been able to answer at the moment, do drop us an email, get in touch with us. We can pass those on to Harriet and Justin and try and get an answer for you. Thank you both, Harriet and Justin. That was fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Justin, for your time. We really appreciate you taking some time out to come and speak to us. And same to you, Harriet. We really appreciate you sharing a bit more about not only the project here in Rwanda with Copacabana Coffee, but also more widely the work of the foundation as well. I'm sure that's been really helpful to everyone. So thank you all for joining. We appreciate that it's a rather nice day out there to be looking out onto, or to be enjoying if you're able to get out there. So thank you all for joining, and we hope to see you at some other festival sessions later today or tomorrow. So we look forward to seeing some of you then. And just to finish with a little image here to say farewell. If you just bear with me. And little thank you to you all for joining us, and indeed for all you do with us as volunteers. So thank you all very much. As we mentioned, we have recorded these sessions, so we will share that on our website for you to view back on. And also just to say that we will, of course, keep in touch with Harriet and Justin on any updates that come as a result of the project, and make sure that we communicate those out to you as the project progresses and we get a bit more about what that impact looks like that they're able to have there. So once again, thank you all very much. Farewell. Thank you very much, Justin, Harriet, and thanks again all for joining. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.